Welcome to Life Workshop, where we discuss the forgotten basics. The topic of this episode is value system. This time is part 3. We are going to continue maybe on this subject for a bit because I think it's of a lot of value. And anyway, as always, I have Bo, the most favorite co-host.
Hello.
And of course me, the most favorite host, Mo. And before we get started, again, I would appreciate it, if you guys would subscribe to the channel, as well as if you would share it or like it. Just that gives us a little bit of a support, obviously, and more than anything, if I hear from you guys, because often at this stage there are mainly my friends that are watching and they reach out to me directly versus if they make a comment or sending an email. So if you can do that, please do. And again, you can make a comment on the thing. Of course, when I say comment, I mean more of a feedback. I'm a kind of anti-comment person. But then the other thing is, or email, which would be at info@lifeworkshop.ca. But anyway, now back to the value system. As I have mentioned it before, we have had 2 episodes, obviously, before this. That's why this becomes the part 3. And then that's my math. That's not that bad at all. And then the second thing is the value system is really important, obviously, because it provides us with the direction that we choose to go in our life. And that direction maybe at the beginning doesn't show as much, but normally the change is exponential at the beginning. If we go a little bit deviate from another way, the differences are not much. But as the years go by, it makes a huge difference. And that's it. The changes are exponential. So it can affect us in all aspects of life, from the health, wealth, happiness, fame, whatever that is important, to one, that really the value system that we have, it affects it. And normally, I say we often get our value system through what we have learned from our environment, which would be affected by our culture or the people that we are surrounded with or the schooling that we have had. So these are the things that we get our value system. Mm-hmm. And often we feel comfortable, or we start feeling comfortable with the results of those behaviors that we have learned very frequently. And that becomes the scary part. As soon as you start to feel comfortable with the results, then there is no need to change. They say that if
isn't that good?
It can be, but at times not. And we will get there. So because of that, it's a good idea to challenge, almost anything that we do. And I'm hoping, for example, by bringing some of the subjects up in this episode, I, get you to think. Again, I understand. They say that if it's not broken, why should you fix it? And sometimes it is correct for some part of it. But at times, maybe we can do even better than that. So we will get there. And anyway, one thing that normally I say, this is my own saying, I say, often we are okay with the poor results of our habits, but question the better results of a change. Mm-hmm. So if we have a bad habit, and for example, let's say it fails 50-60%, it fails maybe 30-40% of the time, but it works 50-60% of the time. We are okay with that result. But 50-60% is, working. Maybe 30-40% or something doesn't. But if we come and, make a change, and then that change gives us 80%, of better results, but 20% of them fails, more frequently we say, but it failed, for those 20%. We know that. But we should look at it, as I said, statistically and in the big picture, that are we getting better results or not? One very good example was a buddy of mine that I can now go into details, but anyway, he was doing something and he said, but 80% of the time it works. And he was just fine with 80% of the time it's working and 20% failing. I said, but that's a very poor standard in what you're doing. You want more than 90%, 95% to work. Anyway, so this kind of things happen that sometimes we become very comfortable with the results that we get.
Right.
And sometimes challenging it is not a bad idea. And to see, where other people, stand and, can we change it? So anyway.
I guess you have to decide though too, right? Like, is that standard acceptable? Is that, say, like the 20% failure rate? Is that actually, that might be really good?
Correct.
Or
Depending on the case
You
scenario.
have to decide, right?
Correct. Sometimes we have
There's
things.
no point in even saying that. I don't know why I talked.
No, that is correct though. It depends on the case scenario, and sometimes we have other, stats that we can compare ourselves with. But even if we don't, and we are, let's say, the leader in the thing, again, we can make things better. All the time we can make things better.
Mm-hmm.
Even, for example, the life in here is not that bad at all. My own life is, to be honest, pretty good. Why am I doing this? I'm going to make it yet better.
Right.
I normally say that Canada is a great country. Absolutely great. Can we make it better? Absolutely we can. And I'm hoping, not just Canada, but just the whole world, if we can just make it yet better. And I personally believe the whole world is getting to be better. We have hiccups, but in general it's getting better.
Yep.
But it doesn't mean that we have to stop, improving. Now back to this thing, that some of the value system that, I'm talking that, to challenge those things that we do. For example, when it comes to eating, do you go after, and this is actually a question for you, Bo, as well as the audience, when you want to, for eating, do you go after the healthy part of the food or tasty part of it? Which one is more important to you if there is a food offered to you or you have the option to choose?
Probably the tasty part of it.
Okay.
Give me an example. Or are you talking like?
Let's say you're going to a restaurant and order food, or you can make it at home. Would you be more worried about their food being healthy or being tasty?
It goes in spurts, I guess.
Okay.
Now I'm in a tasty mode, so yeah.
Because
other times you'll be in more of a healthy mode, but they don't have to be mutually exclusive, right? They can tasty can be healthy.
The thing is that personally, myself, mainly go after the healthy part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, because of that, sometimes they say that, but it may not be tasty. Not true. Taste buds change. We can teach them.
Right.
For example, I have a sweet tooth. I really like the sweet stuff. But I have learned over time, and I have taught basically my, let's say, taste buds to be, to like the less sweet stuff. And I'm trying to decrease the amount of sweetness in my food.
How do you feel about pineapple?
I can't hear you.
How do you feel about pineapple?
I feel good.
I've been putting it in my spaghetti sauce lately. It's fantastic.
Okay, more sugar.
Just saying, but it's healthy, kind of.
Sure.
Maybe.
Again, as I said, and I'm not going to act like a nutritionist or a,
yeah.
I'm a specialist, but I'm talking as a general rule. Now, this is my core value. Now, if I want to go learn something, I'm not going to learn how I can make my food tasty. I try to learn how to make my food healthy. This is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, and then you can make it tasty later?
First is health.
Okay.
First is health. And, then the taste, you get used to it. That is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, you're not even trying to make it tasty. You just eat it healthy, suck it up and be like, oh, eventually I'll like it.
As long as, again, it doesn't cross the line too far. Again, when I'm saying this, remember, myself, definitely I want to like my food, and I normally do. I love my food. Mm-hmm. And if it is very healthy, but it doesn't taste good, there is no freaking way I'm going to do that.
Right.
I'm not going to that extreme. But as a general picture, I'm trying to just provide that general guideline that personally, if I have to choose one, for sure I choose the healthy part first. And then some people, they go to the extreme, they want it to be healthy, but then they don't care at all about the taste. I mean, good on you if you can handle it. For me, no, I want it to be tasty, but when I want to make it tasty, as I said, I will do it one step at a time in a way that I really enjoy my food, and I do. So another thing is that, would you go after healthy or expensive food? Because sometimes people generally, they say that, oh, healthy food is more expensive, which I actually disagree. For example, just before we go too far, quinoa is very cheap.
Oh, okay. Is it?
And yes, very cheap. And then it's very healthy. Flaxseed, or for example, I don't know, chia seed, and those kind of things are relatively cheap.
No, flax is expensive, man.
I'm not sure about that. I don't know where you're buying it.
Oh, probably in the wrong spot.
But they are not really that expensive relative to, for example, when you say cheap though, on the other hand, sometimes people, they go eat out.
Mm-hmm.
And eat out, I'm talking from cheap places like fast food. That's terrible.
Right.
And it's, first of all, it's more expensive than the food that you make at home. Secondly, obviously, it's very unhealthy. And now I'm going to just write while I'm at it. Sometimes, for example, they say that, but you know, it's just for the money part of it. No, when you eat unhealthy, it has consequences. You're not going to be healthy, so you might have high blood pressure, cholesterol, it may not look good. You gain weight. And then when that things happen, now you have to fix that. So you have to spend on medication to fix that. You're not feeling good, so you have to make yourself feel good with something else. Now let me go have a beer just to get over my sadness. Or I need a holiday just because I have had too much going on. But in all honesty, these things, they add up, very gradually. You want to do something else to compensate for the screw up that you did before.
Yeah.
And your health, I mean, are you kidding me? When you are not as healthy, you cannot work as much, which again, or you're not enjoying that, then you want to compensate for that enjoyment. I don't know. When I'm saying this, can we calculate it, per dollar? I don't know, but I'm sure if there was somebody would go in the big picture and would find out, the eating healthy part of it is very good. Now, I went a bit too far, but when it comes healthy versus expensive, sometimes people, they think that, for example, for healthy, I want to get fresh fruit and, it's expensive. Well, I know. Then get the frozen one.
Yeah.
May not be as healthy as or may not be as tasty as fresh. I don't know. But it is healthy. You can get your frozen vegetables. Mm-hmm. You don't have to buy the vegetables or the fruit that are out of the season. There are very simple ways to do it. But we choose, let's say, if we look at it, it can be different. That, that we can make a better decision. And in all honesty, if we want to, we can. Even, for example, how to make it healthy or tastier, lots of things are on YouTube. I'm sure there are lots of people that they make and I know that, they're making very healthy food, very quick. So for some people that they have this excuse of, I don't have time, and I say for that one, even when they say you can make the process of making food fun. As I have said personally, what do? I invite friends over. We cook together. I'm not going to cook for you before you get there. There is no freaking way I'm going to do that for anybody almost. Because I want to enjoy it, and I'm not a type personally that I enjoy just cooking by myself. I mean, most of the time I'm not. I prefer if somebody is there, we are just having a nice conversation. At the same time, I'm cooking. It is possible. If we change that set of thought, we can figure it out. That is all I'm trying to say. That sometimes we just get stuck to a way, and I'm hoping by this that I'm saying, again, just challenge that, the way that we look at things. Another one, for example, is exercise. When we exercise now, are we doing it for the sake of being healthy or for the sake of winning, for example, a race or something? Because there are some sort of exercise that we do.
I think there's a difference between exercise and training. If you're doing something like to win, like you say, I mean that's training. That's not exercising anymore.
Correct. Actually, to kind of more elaborate on that, this is a kind of lines of it what I do. The difference primarily between exercise and the sport that you just said is the competition aspect of it.
Right.
So if I go and run on my own is exercise, but if I run in a race normally and I want to beat somebody, then it becomes competition. It becomes a sport. Now, which one is more important? Because, for example, some of the exercises that we do, they are not necessarily as healthy. For example, when we do bodybuilding, is it healthy? At times not. When we go take some supplements or do some stuff that is not necessarily healthy. Or now when I go this is a hot spot for some people. When you play football and you tackle each other and you get concussion. When you play hockey, that is not a game, it's boxing, it's a fight, a street fight. It just doesn't make sense that I'm not understanding when you play hockey, why is it allowed to beat up each other?
Nobody really knows.
And this is the thing, this thing that have been done in the past, and we tend to accept them. So because I have brought this up before, and then some people said, oh, this is how it was done. Lots of things we did before. We just questioned them and we changed them. I'm not sure why not this one. It's just not the time for it. And when I said that, somebody said that, Mo, you're too much of a softie. I said, you know what? I did martial arts personally for lots of years. And myself wanted to be tough and rough and things. I did taekwondo, and we were not wearing the protective gear just because, it's just too for softies, and we don't want to be softy. And myself, I got injured that way. I have some injuries that right now, not right now, but I have had them forever because of those wrong choices that I made. It's a very good sport. Don't take me wrong. I love it. And I do practice it even to this day just for the heck of it. But, some aspect of it, it's just wrong as far as I'm concerned. Again, why do we exercise? To be healthy, it should be very, we want to be very clear. Are we doing it to be healthy? And even if I want to take it one step further, it's not just a matter of health. Is it to make our life better? Because, for example, if we take the exercise to the extent that it affects other aspects of our life, like, for example, our work, family, finances, and those kind of things, it affects those in a negative way, which at times it does, then are we gaining, when it comes to the bigger picture?
I think you're making it way too complicated. And
life is simple.
This is right, man. And you know what you do it for? You do it because it makes you feel good.
As a matter of fact,
that's the end of it. And then all those other things you talk about just sort of fall into place. But you should just be doing it because it makes you feel good, and feel good about yourself as well. And it's about small term goal setting and all that stuff, and being stronger and being better, and and all those other things just sort of happen. But you do it just to feel good, because as soon as you start exercising, you do feel better.
As a matter of fact, you know what? I'm glad you brought this up, because myself, it was some time ago, I was a radio interview that they asked me. And then I said, actually, to be healthy, you need an active lifestyle, not exercise. Exercise is to make you feel good, and you're very much right on that one. So in order to be healthy, active lifestyle is the most important thing. We do exercise for mental part of it more than anything. And then the sport, it takes it one step further. When the competition aspect of it, comes, then it makes it even more fun. But what I'm trying to say that, if we go too far, we want to just be careful that doesn't go, further, and, basically in the big picture we lose. But for the most part, no, you're right. As long as it feels good, you should it in a very simple way.
So what does this have to do with values?
These are actually the very good point. What's the value? Because, sometimes we forget. Am I exercising for what? What's the purpose of the, thing? The exercise that I'm doing? Am I doing it to be healthy? This is the values that we put on exercise. That how much value does it have? This is how I'm saying it.
Okay.
And then how much value should we put on something? Because a lot of time we do things, again, as I said, is based on the environment that we are in. For example, if you go, now you brought this up, I have to say. Once, years ago, I was going to the gym. It may not show, but I did. But I did go to the gym. And then there was this guy who was asking me, so how frequently do you go to the gym? I said, 3 times. He said, 3 times a day? I said, no, 3 times a week.
Yeah.
I couldn't even fathom the idea that how did that come to mind, that 3 times a day. But himself, he was doing it twice a day. So sometimes it has gone a bit, I don't know in his case, but I think he was working. He was not a retired person or something. It didn't seem like it. That, are you going too far with this? This is where I'm going. The values that we put, how much? And I understand maybe, he goes, I don't know, during different stage of life, somebody does that. But it's a good idea to reevaluate, to see, are we, getting what we want to get or not. And I'm going to bring actually this one, another thing that, when it comes to the value system would be, Do you normally, for example, want something that is more normal? Do you want something that is more normal or unique? For example, if you buy a car, do you want your car to be something that most people have, or something that is one of a kind?
That's interesting question, because there's, some at some point, like the truck I have now is very common because it has all the, you can get all the parts for it, right? Or what used to be very common. They don't make them anymore, but very common, and I can find more. I can grab a parts truck, and they're relatively cheap,
Mm-hmm.
So that's good for that. But at the same time, you do little things to it, right, to make it kind of like, oh, that's just something I did,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's a kind of a combination of both.
And this is again, and it's all cool, and myself, I know I do the same thing. But the reason I'm bringing this up is just to make sure that we think about this stuff and to make a decision that is we are more conscious about it. And does it fit the big picture? For example, if money is an issue in your life, you don't have as much. Maybe you want to get something that's more common,
Mm-hmm.
that is cheaper to fix,
Yep.
Versus being unique. Or if you wanted to make it unique, I don't know,
Well, you can make it unique.
That is correct. Yeah.
So don't even worry about that.
That is very true.
Or find something that you can.
But
say with a car, you want something that you feel comfortable driving. Is really more important than anything.
Comfortable, safe, and of course does what you want it to do. Because
Yeah.
if, for example, you need a truck but you buy a car, it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
So just to be very practical, or vice versa, which
Yeah, I
very
think-
commonly people, they buy trucks when they just don't need one. But
Oh,
one day I may need that truck.
Yeah.
I said, why don't you buy a plane? Because one day you need that plane.
Yeah. I think something with a vehicle, it would be a value, I guess, or the value I place on it is practicality. 'Cause it's a tool. It's not. Yeah, it's not a status symbol. It's a tool.
That's a very good point. And if we start looking at it in that fashion, then probably we get things in a more correct way. That is it practical? Is it doing what I want it to do? Does it fit, for example, or my finances as well, and those kind of things.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw one more thing, and that would be, for example, another thing is that sometimes people, they take pride in buying something expensive. Some, they take pride in buying them cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the interesting part that we have, the value system that we have, that it affects us the way we do things. For example, I had a colleague that at one point, she would go to Saskatoon to buy for her clothing because I can't find anything in Regina. I have to go to Saskatoon. By the way, Saskatoon is the second city. In case the Saskatoonian, don't let get that into your head. but yeah, she was taking pride in that. On the same token, there was another, a staff member that she was taking very much pride in that. Oh, I want something really cheap, let's say a Value Village or something. And anyway, so the value system that we have, it decides that where we go, and it affects, for example, in this case, our finances. Mm-hmm. Or when it comes to the health part of it, to health and the level of happiness and all that stuff.
That's funny. I got a good one. I was sitting there. I was invited out for drinks one night with some people, and one friend of mine and two other people I didn't know. And this guy was like, I don't know why this came up or what the hell the conversation was. I don't really remember, but I remember part of it. And he came up and looked at this chain. It's a $5,000 gold chain or something. I was just like, okay. And then my buddy's like, oh yeah, this one here. He pulled this. There's so much money, and I'm like, this is homemade. So it's like, then when you talk about the value systems and how some people are expensive and some people like it cheap, and that's pretty funny.
You're saying that actually, I remember once we had gone to the South Urge, and then there was this lady that she was friend of a friend. She was sitting, and she had put her purse on the table.
Okay.
And I honestly, I didn't know what it is, and it was written Goosey.
Okay.
Or juicy. I read it juicy or goosey or something.
Yeah.
What was it, Gucci? I
Yeah.
think. So she was trying to make an impression that. So of course, for some, again, based on the value system, for some may be impressed. Oh wow, she has a Gucci. Is that
Okay.
Gucci? That is how it is said.
Yeah.
But for me, Why?
Yeah.
I feel sorry for you. So why do you spend money on that thing?
Yeah.
Well, you can get it a lot cheaper. And you know what's the purpose?
Yeah. It's a sack.
You could get a grocery bag would do the same job. No, that's a bit of a stretch,
Yeah.
but but anyway, at the end of the day, again, these are the value system that they decide. I said they make differences in the outcome. As I said at the beginning, the changes may not be that much. For example, somebody said, but it's just a few dollars here, a few dollars there. But in the big picture, when you look at it in an exponential way, it will just the same behavior will cost you a lot of money or will save you a lot of money. And then you will put your focus on something else that hopefully will make your life better. But anyway, at the end, again, I'm going to end up as usual with this question. Now, what about you? You as an audience, and please, ask this question from other people too. I want it to become a conversation, because when you talk about it, they say one of the best way to learn is to teach. Or anyway, just talking about that, ask other people that what are the value system? Do you go after the healthy or the tasty? Do you go after the healthy food or expensive food? Because healthy food can be cheap. Do you exercise to be healthy and make you feel happy, or to impress somebody? And the last one again is, do you go buy a stuff, you take pride in something that you buy that is rather cheaper? I mean cheaper in price wise, not the
Quality, not
quality, yeah. But or do you take pride in something that is more buying something that's more expensive? Anyway, after all, again, life is simple. Please don't make it complicated. I did a little bit at the beginning. Don't you do that. Okay.
Okay.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.